Hi everyone, welcome back again to my YouTube channel. So in today's video we're going to be making this beautiful dress. As you can see, the ones on the side were my inspiration and the one you see in the middle is the one I made. So if this is something you're interested in, keep on watching. If you're yet to subscribe, hit on the subscribe button and let's get started. So guys, to make this dress you will need about 2 yards of African print, whatever color you want to use. You will need about half yard of a crepe white fabric and about 2 yards of a black crepe fabric. So this one here you need about 2 yards. Now we're going to quickly draft out the pattern on my pattern paper. So this side is going to serve as our center front and this side is going to be serving as the top of the fabric, like the shoulder area. Okay, so I'm going to first of all go ahead and draw a straight line across, which is going to serve as the shoulder line or the starting line. So this is the shoulder line. Let me label SL. Now from the shoulder line I'm going to go ahead and quickly get all the other lines from shoulder to my bust point. I'm going to mark it here, which is 10 inches. Still leaving the tape at the top, I'm going to mark my waist, shoulder to waist. I'll mark my shoulder to hip, and also I'll mark my shoulder to where I want the black fabric to end. Okay, so I want this full dress to be 38 inches, so I want the black fabric to end at the 30 inches point. Okay, so I'll mark it here 30 inches, so the African print will complete it to 38 that I want this full dress to be. So I'll make a point here at 30 inches for the length of the black fabric, and I'm going to go ahead and draw straight lines across all the points that I just made. So now this is the bust line here, this is the waistline, this is the hip line, and we'll just label this last one the length. So now on the shoulder line I am going to go in by how wide I want this neckline to be, and because it's a very high neckline I am going to go in by 3 inches and come down from the shoulder line. I'll be coming down by 2.5 inches. Now if you're bigger, if you're a big person, I would say just use 3 inches on both sides. Okay, so now I'm going to connect these 2 points with a curve to give me a round neckline. Now on the shoulder line I'm going to divide my shoulder measurement into 2 and make a point here. Now I'll come down from this point by 1 inch and connect this new point into the top of my neckline. Okay, after that I'm going to come down by my armhole depth, which is 7 inches, calculated by dividing my bust measurement by 6 and adding 1.5 to my calculation. So I drew a straight line across this point and I labeled this the chest line. Now on this chest line I am dividing my bust measurement into 4. Okay, divide your bust measurement into 4 and make a point here. Now you're going to come down to this your shoulder slope and divide your shoulder into 2 equal halves. So once you've done this, you're going to go ahead and use your ruler to just connect from the neck to this new point and then connect a curve from this new point to meet the chest line. Now on the bust line I'll also mark my bust measurement divided by 4 and make the point here. So now on the waistline I'm going to divide my nipple to nipple measurement into 2 from the center. I'll do the same thing on the bust line and also on the hip line. I'll connect all the 3 points together with a straight line. And now on this waistline I'm going to go out on both sides of this line I just created by 1 inch, and then from the hip line I'll come up by 2 inches. So now I'm going to go ahead and connect all the dots to give me my dart. So now on the waistline I am going to add my body measurement, so I'll mark my waist measurement divided by 4. Then I'll measure this dart intake here and replace it. So I'll just replace it out here. It was 1 inch. Now on the hip line you're going to mark your hip measurement divided by 4. I marked mine here. Now on the length line you can decide to reuse the hip measurement or you can reduce it by half an inch. So I reduced it by half an inch. Now I'm going to connect all the last points with my curve to give me my body shape. So basically you connect from the waist to the bust. Now from the hip line you connect to the waistline and then length to the hip line. So once you're done with everything, just go ahead and cut it out. So guys, this is the basic front pattern. The length is going to be more than this when we add the African print later. So I'm going to place this on the black fabric now and go ahead and cut it out. So guys, this is the front part that I've cut out now. I placed the pattern paper exactly on my fabric. I folded the fabric into two, and I added stitching allowance all the way around. I added stitching allowance even to the armhole of this one. I added about 1 inch of stitching allowance to the side, but every other part I added ½ inch stitching allowance. Now for the back pattern, I already have my fabric folded into two. Like I said earlier, we're going to be using the front pattern to also cut out the back. I've drawn a straight line across, which is going to serve as my zipper allowance for the back. Okay, the width of this line is 1½ inch away from the beginning of the fabric. So I just placed the front pattern exactly on this line, just like you see me doing like this. Now what I'm going to go ahead and do is to just trace out a different neckline for the back. Now the back is going to be having a high neckline. At least the neckline is going to be higher than what's in front. So I just trace out the shoulder. As you can see, I drew a straight line across the shoulder points. And now for the back neckline, I'm just going to come down by 1½ inch instead of 2½ inches that we used for the front. So I just curved it as well and just extended it into the zipper allowance. And now I'm going to go ahead and cut out everything just exactly as it is on the front pattern. The only difference between the front and back is the zipper allowance and the back neckline. So just go ahead and trace out every other part. So now go ahead and quickly remove all the pins and separate the patterns. So this is the front part. Okay, so this is the front part. I'm just going to go ahead and fold it in place. Remember that we have a dart here, so I'm going to place the dart on the actual fabric on the sewing machine, and I'll also be doing the same thing on the back patterns as well. So guys, I've stitched down the dart areas for the front, as you can see, and also for the back. So now I'll be taking the back pieces away for now. Let's work on the front piece. So I'll just fold it into two, iron it out again so that the neckline will be very straight. I'm also going to fold my piece of white fabric into two just so it's looking nice and clean. I went ahead to iron it out. You guys know that I do this a lot. So I ironed it out. It's folded into two as well, just like the way the neckline of the dress itself is folded into two. So I placed the black fabric, the neckline, ½ inch away from the center of the white piece. Make sure to do exactly the same thing and then trace out the neckline. Now once you're done with this, you're going to go ahead and determine how long you want your collar for the neckline to be, and for this one I decided to use 2½ inches. This includes ½ inch for stitching allowance, so I'm just using 2½ inches to mark all the way around and then go ahead and cut it out. So I'll be cutting out another piece exactly the same way because it will be serving as the lining for this as well. Now I decided to just use my free hand to just create a curve here for the center of the collar. So when you open it into two, it's going to look like this, which is kind of similar to what we have on the dress we are trying to recreate. So I went ahead to iron hair stay to all the pieces, all 4 of them. And after I was done ironing hair stay, this is what I had. So 2 pieces for each side of the collar. This collar doesn't go all the way to the back, it's just the front. So I'm placing them right sides facing each other, and I'm going to stitch from here to here on both sides. So guys, after stitching, I turn it over to the right side and ironed it out. So this is what I had. I placed them now in the center of my neckline, and I'm just going ahead to pin it down. So go ahead and do the same thing. Place them on the center of the neckline. You can actually decide to make a point so you know exactly where to place them. So now I'll use a bias tape to stitch all the way around the neckline. So guys, after making my first stitch, this is what it looks like, and I've also gone ahead to make notches around. So now I'm going to be top stitching this, but I won't be top stitching on the white collar. I'll only be top stitching towards the black. So I'll just top stitch towards the black on the sewing machine and turn everything over and iron it out. Make sure you top stitch only to the black parts. So guys, I have ironed it out, and like I said, I made the top stitch towards the black part, and you see that it actually looks very neat when you do it this way. Now the next thing we're going to go ahead and do is to also go ahead and line up the neckline for the back. So I have already cut out the facing. I'm going to stitch it down here, and I'll do the same thing for the other side as well. I've done it, and this is what it looks like. Okay, so it looks really nice, and this is what the other part is looking like. Now, this is something I should have actually done before placing the collars on this neckline, but since I've already done it, I am just going to go ahead and place this fabric right here in the middle of the blouse. Okay, so of the dress actually. So how you're going to do this is, from the neckline you're going to measure down to the end of where the fabric is going to be, and you can see I've already folded the ends and held it with hemming gum so that when I'm stitching this down on the sewing machine it will be easy. When I cut it out, it was 3.5 inches. So after ironing the folded edge, it now became 2.5 inches. So that's what this is now. But you can decide not to iron it before stitching down if you don't want to. Now I just marked the center of this folded fabric that I have here, and I went ahead to pin it down. You can actually determine how wide you want this to be. If you want it smaller or wider, you can totally do that. So I just went ahead to pin this in place, and now I'm going to head over to the sewing machine and make a top stitch here and here. And when I'm through making the top stitch, I'm going to join the front and the back pieces together on the shoulders. I'm just pinning them together as you see me doing like this. Just go ahead and pin the shoulders down just like I'm doing like this, and then you will also stitch it down here. So guys, I'm done making all the stitches. I've joined the shoulders, and I also decided to just pipe the armhole area with my bias. I did the same thing for the two sides, as you can see. So now we're going to turn everything over to the wrong side. And now for the back, I decided to join the back from here to here, and from this side it is open because I'm going to be placing my zipper here. Okay, I'll go ahead and fix the zipper afterwards. Now for the sides, we're going to go ahead and join only one side for now. So I'm going to be stitching down one side, which is the right side. So use the front to determine this, and make sure to use your body measurements. So I've stitched it down on this side. Like I said, this is the right part. Okay, now for the other side, I'm here to stitch it down because we are going to be having a ruffle from the waist of this side. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now is, on the ruffle, I've already gone ahead to cut out the ruffle, and like I said earlier, the ruffle is going to complete the length of this dress. Now the length of my dress as of now is 30 inches. This was what I showed you guys earlier. It's 30 inches. Now I want this dress to be a total of 38 inches by the time I'm done. So right now this ruffle is 9 inches long. I've already folded up one edge. And for the width of the ruffle, it totally depends on how full you want your gathers to be. For this particular one, I have 4 yards. So I went ahead to measure it, and I had 4 yards. So I've stitched around the edges, leaving only this top here. And for this top that I left, what I went ahead to do was to make a gather stitch. So I made only one stitch actually, because we need to make gathers that will go around the blouse from the waist all the way around the body. So now for you to determine how long your gathers are going to be, I'm just marking my body measurement on the other side of the dress. Now from this point here, I'm just going to use my free hand to just make a curve into the hip area like this. So it will go all the way like this. So from the waist, I'm going to measure all the way around. So I'll pick from this area, measure all the way around the front part, and then all the way through to the back. So when I got to the end, I had about 56 inches, 51 inches, but I'll be adding extra inches. So I'll be using 56 inches. I'll be telling you why you should add about 6 to 7 extra inches when you're making your gathers later. So now I'm going to go ahead and pull on my gathers until it gets to that 56 inches. Okay. So guys, I am done making my ruffles, and the length right now is 56 inches. Remember, what I actually need is 51 inches, but I said add extra inches because you'll be needing it later. So now I'm going to be placing my ruffle to face my dress, right sides facing each other. And from this waist here, the waist is the sharp edge. Okay, from this waist, I'm going to go ahead and pin it only on the front part. So I'm going to go ahead and pin it all the way around. I'll just follow the curve I have. Just watch what I'm doing here. Just continue to pin it on the white line. When you get to the curved area, follow the curved line, not the straight line. So make sure that you're pinning only on the front part. Don't pin on both front and back because you'll not be able to stitch it down. So I'm just going to go ahead and continue pinning all the way around like you see me doing like this. So on the sewing machine, I will just continue to stitch this all the way around the dress until I get to this point, about 2 inches away from the end of the back. So you stop at this point. So guys, I'm done making this stitch from the curved area, from the waist all the way through to the curved area here, all the way around this point to this point. I said I will stop on the back. Now I'll go ahead and turn everything over to the wrong side so that we'll join the remaining part of the side. Okay, so you turn everything over to the wrong side like I'm doing like this. Push the gathers inside the dress. Make sure you're pushing the gathers inside the dress, and now you're going to look for the sides. You're going to notice that they are actually open because we did stitch it all the way to the end on the back. So now you're going to use your body measurement to join the sides like this all the way to the end of the black pieces for now. So you just go ahead and stitch it down here. This thing I'm trying to explain is actually quite confusing because the ruffles is on the side and the end as well. But just go ahead and stitch down this area all the way to the end of the black. So once you're done stitching it down, you see that the front and the back is now secured and the ruffle is looking neat. That's just the reason why we went through all that stress, because you don't want the African print to be showing on the side like it's showing on the inside. So now remember the excess ruffle I told you guys to make earlier, right? Now we're going to use it to finish up the part of the dress that doesn't have ruffle on the inside. When you actually stitch down the side, you will notice that some parts doesn't have ruffle. So I'm just going to pin the remaining part of the ruffle around here, and I will head over to the sewing machine and stitch this down. So guys, after stitching it down, this is what it looks like. So it comes all the way from here through to the side. So that's the purpose of this, and that's basically all for the ruffle area. Now we're going to go ahead and work on the white sleeves on the other side, so you can see what the back side is looking like as well. So this is really nice, and this is what yours should look like. So now for the last part, which is the sleeve area, I went ahead to fold my white fabric into two like a bias, and I went ahead to measure from one side of my hand to the other, and what I got was about 13 inches. So I am going to be cutting the first layer of this sleeve by 14 inches. That's with extra 1 inch. The next layer will be 13, followed by 12, followed by 11, followed by 10, and of course followed by 9. So I kept reducing each length by 1 inch. Okay, so you can cut out as much as 8 pieces, 9, 5, depending on how many you want to have. So from the top of the sleeve, from the shoulder, I came down by 4.5 inch, and I'm going to be placing the smallest one, which is 9 inches here, and I'll place it on the other side here. I just pin it down. Okay, you place the smaller one first, followed by the other one following it. I placed it right close to it under like this, and then the next one, which is about 11 inches, I pin it down here. The next I'm going to be placing is going to be the 12 inches length. Okay, so now I'm going to continue with this. I'll just head over and make a top stitch here and here when I'm done. So guys, I've made my top stitch with a black thread, so it looks really neat. And that's basically all for the making of this whole dress. The ruffles, the sleeve, the zipper, and everything has been fixed. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.